Hello everyone, back with a ranking of my top British horror films. Um, yeah, I've got about 20 or so here. The top five, I've got them in an order. All the rest is a bit hard to put the other 15 or so in order of favourite, so I'll just show them in any order. But yeah, obviously the top five I have put them into an order. I've got three honourable mentions that are set in Britain, but when I've researched on IMDb or I think it was Google, technically they're not British productions, they're just filmed in Britain, so I will get to those in a second. I'll show those first. Um, yeah, I was going to be recording a haul video, so today is Sunday. I should be uploading this on Sunday. Yesterday, being Saturday, I went film hunting with Ollie from Ollie Loves Film. We went to CEX, HMV, and the charity stores. Bit of a spoiler to what a couple of things going to be in the haul, but I was hoping to pick up the 4K on Arrow video of Witness with Harrison Ford, which I've never seen before but heard good things, and Roadhouse with Patrick Swayze. Unfortunately, they didn't have them in stock in Bath, HMV. So once I got home, I ordered them on Amazon. So they should be coming today, but not in time to show them on this video. So yeah, I'll either record that later when they come or the next few days and upload that. So yeah, in the meanwhile, thought I'd do this one. So yeah, had to give it quite a bit of thought really. But let me talk about them honourable mentions. So you've got the others. So even though it's set in Jersey, or I guess they call it the Channel Islands, it isn't technically a British production. Directed by Alejandro Amenábar, I think you say it. Starring Nicole Kidman, good acting all round. Got one of my favourites, Elaine Cassidy, in it. She's only in a small role. Really good jump scare. Brilliant film. This would probably be in my top five if it did class as a British production. Yeah, crazily enough, I've only got this one on DVD, haven't upgraded it. I think there is a 4K. Let me know if it's a good picture. I'm pretty sure Roy Barrett from Blue Roy Movies has got that. This is a double disc edition. But yeah, technically not a British production. The same with this one. Probably might be top of the list if it counted solely as a British production. An American Werewolf in London. But yeah, when I have researched it, even though obviously it's set in England and London, scenes in the London Zoo and things, obviously starring Jenny Agutter, who is British. It is directed by John Landis, who's American, starring David Norton, he's American. I think Griffin Dunn is. Yeah, it does say it's like an English-American production. So yeah, I thought not only it's not solely British, I wouldn't put it in here, but also it wouldn't be fair on some of the completely British films, because yeah, this is one of my favourite horror films ever. Sure, everybody knows An American Werewolf in London. My favourite American film, favourite werewolf film, although spoiler, there is a British werewolf film in here, which is probably my second favourite. And then I've got the Pentology, but it is really just the first Omen I'm talking about. Again, obviously it's set in England, a lot of English actors, like I think Gregory Peck's British, but David Warner in this is British. I think the kid that plays Damien is British, but yeah, again, looking online, it's saying this is a British-American production. So although I'm pretty sure it's set in Britain, people have got British accent, English accents. But yeah, again, I'm not just going for films that are set in Britain, I'm going for films that are British-made. So yeah, unfortunately, The Omen. I mean, those three would have probably been in the top five, to be fair, so gives it a bit more time to talk about some probably lesser-known British films. Right, so we'll start. So this is the official list now. That's the honourable mentions out of the way. So first, you've got stop motion. This isn't my least favourite choice. Just put them in a random pile. Like I say, I'll talk about the top five when I get to them. So yeah, quite a recent film from 2024, starring Ashlyn Franzosi from The Nightingale and the Fall, directed by Robert Morgan. I won't talk about these films too much. I'll just give you a brief synopsis. So yeah, it's only got one sentence. So Ella Blake, a stop-motion animator struggling to control her demons after the loss of her overbearing mother, embarks upon creating a film that becomes a battleground of her sanity. As Ella's mind starts to fracture, the characters in the project take on a life of their own. 18, strong bloody violence and gore. It's a BFI film. It's Shudder exclusive. So it was on Shudder for a while, but yeah, I bought it once it came out. I think I got it in HMV. But yeah, really original. The stop motion bits are really creepy. Well made in general, very dark film. Some of the stop motion, yeah, some of the nastiest bits, but there's some bits, without saying too much, what she uses to create some of the stop motion puppets and things is quite messed up. But yeah, so it's quite, I wouldn't say extreme, but yeah, on the gorier end of some of these British ones. This one I haven't watched for a long time. Do remember enjoying it. I used to have it on DVD, but now I've upgraded it to the Blu-ray. I will watch it again. Black Death with Sean Bean, directed by Christopher Smith. I think we've got all 4 of Christopher Smith's films in this ranking, to be fair. Him and Neil Marshall, my favourite British directors. We'll talk about their films when we get to it. Oh, again, this is starring David Warner, Caris Van Houten, don't know if she's related to Denise. Eddie Redmayne. Oh, it's a bit of an early role for him. Yeah, remember it being a good one. It's like a kind of medieval sort of witchcraft. Remember it being quite brutal. I won't spoil it, but you can probably guess if Sean Bean dies or not in it. But yeah, sort of 2000 and, well, it says 2010, 2011. 15 contains strong violence, but yeah, sort of medieval throwback kind of witchcraft one. Yeah, I do need to give that another viewing soon. I do remember enjoying it, but can't remember too many details of it. Didn't put them in this order on purpose, but just happened that the next one is also a Christopher Smith. Guess this one's bordering on a thriller, but it's got some pretty nasty scenes, so I thought I'd put it as a horror. It's Triangle. Christopher Smith film starring Melissa George. What year is this? 2009, so that was before Black Death. Maybe before some of the other Christopher Smith ones on the list. We'll look when we get to them. Who else does it star? Melissa George, Michael Dorman, Rachel Caprani, Henry Nixon, Emma Lung, Liam Hemsworth. Yeah, I won't say too much because it's a very sort of mess with your head kind of film. Yeah, it'd be a spoiler to say, but they're basically on a ship and I can't really say much more than that because it will spoil it. But yeah, it's a bit of a sort of time loop kind of what's the word? Psychological horror, I would say. But yeah, I've only seen it once or twice, not seen it for years, but again, one that has stuck with me. Triangle by Christopher Smith. I think this one is an Irish production. I know it's got Irish actors in it. It's Stitches with Ross Noble. So if anyone remembers Ross Noble, it's like a stand-up comedian. He plays the clown in it called Stitches. He is really funny in this. Got some really memorable kills. It's a comedy horror, really. Directed by Connor McMahon. Contains very strong violence and gory images. Yeah, obviously he's a clown, so some of the kills he uses like a balloon, well, I say the balloon puppet, like a balloon pump, and then he uses his like knife and things. Yeah, it is pretty gory and brutal, but it's a comedy horror, I would say. But yeah, I was quite surprised how good Ross Noble is in this. I think you can get this on Blu-ray. In fact, I seen it in Bath yesterday at £6, but didn't upgrade it. So although I enjoy it, it's not one I would go back to too often. I thought, yeah, for £6, probably not worth the upgrade. I don't think the picture would look that much better. Who's it starring? Tell me on the back. I think most of the kids are unknown. Yeah, the kids at sort of school in this are Irish. Obviously, Ross Noble's not. He's English, I guess. Does it tell me who they are? Stitches. No, it doesn't really seem to say the cast. But yeah, I think they are relative unknowns, to be fair. But yeah, funny comedy horror. If you're into... This was out before the remake of It. So it wasn't really jumping on like the clown hype. But yeah, quite a funny one. Yeah, Ross Noble quite impressive in that as the main killer clown. Drops some good one-liners and things. This one, I think, quite an unknown one, but I really do enjoy When the Lights Went Out. So it's based on the Enfield poltergeist story, which also was the main backbone for the story in The Conjuring 2, one of my favourites. Obviously, even though The Conjuring 2 is set in London and England, it is technically an American production by James Wan and what's his name? Leigh Whannell, I think. Pretty sure, I won't go and look, but sure everybody knows The Conjuring 2. But yeah, it's based on basically the same story of the Enfield poltergeist. Based on the true story of the most terrifying poltergeist haunting in British history. Written and directed by Pat Holden. Tell me who stars in it. Kate Ashfield, Stephen Waddington. think that's all the actor tells me on the back. Yeah, it's quite a low budget one, but the actual drama and things between the families really good. There is some really creepy scenes. There's one bit of CGI, it's not really a spoiler to say, where you kind of see the ghost or the poltergeist. Didn't look great. I wouldn't say it took me out of the film. I mean, it is 2013, so 12 years old. Yeah, I wouldn't say it's aged the best, but the actual filmmaking and the story and the sort of drama between the characters is really good. I think maybe it might be a bit closer to the, I say the truth, I don't believe in ghosts, but closer to the original story of the Enfield haunting, the Enfield poltergeist, than The Conjuring is, which seems to take a lot more liberties with the story. The Conjuring is better than this and scarier, but if you want to see Conjuring 2, if you want to see a British version of The Conjuring 2, then yeah, it's a good one. Like I say, apart from the one scene of CGI, I think it's a pretty well made film. When the lights went out. Next one, not so well made, but it is a fun one. It's Inbred. Yeah, this is quite extreme, really gory. I mean, it says the best British horror in years, makes the Texas Chainsaw Massacre look like a picnic. It's not a seminal and classic as the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, put it that way. Written and directed by Alex Chandon. I think he also did the one Cradle of Fear, which is not a great film, but quite an extreme horror from years ago. This one is 2011. It's got this guy, I think, still plays Paddy in Emmerdale. So quite weird to see him in it. He is good in it. Yeah, it's not... I think the villains are quite good acting. It does kind of remind me of The League of Gentlemen, like a more extreme version of the TV show The League of Gentlemen. Sure everybody knows that, written by Steve Pemberton, Mark Gatiss and Reece Shearsmith. I'll read you the synopsis because I don't think many people have heard of this. A group of young urban offenders and their care workers embark on a community service weekend in the strange remote Yorkshire village of Mortlake, which prides on keeping itself to itself, visiting the local pub called the Dirty Hole, which serves suspiciously hairy pork scratchings. They quickly realise they've made the wrong holiday choice. When an incident with some local inbred youths rapidly escalates into a blood-soaked, deliriously warped nightmare, it's not a case of who will survive, but what will be left of them. This is a demented horror film with noughts taken out. Contains sadistic violence, strong gore, and very strong language. Yeah, it's one of the most brutal out of all of these, other than the one we'll get to next. But like I say, the acting from the villains is good, and the story and script ain't bad, but yeah, the acting from what I call the victim, some of it is pretty bad, to be fair. But what you'd expect from a low-budget, kind of sleazy, extreme horror. Bit of a comedy one. It is really fun. Starring Joe Hartley, Seamus O'Neill, James Docherty, James Burrows, Neil Leeper, Nadine Rose Mulcairn, Terry Haywood, Chris Waller, George Newton, Matt Fraser, and Emily Booth. I'm sure people might have heard of Emily Booth. I think that guy there used to play, what's he called? Les Battersby, I think, in Coronation Street. So, yeah, if you're into your soaps, then you might recognise some of these. There's one scene with a horse, is what I'm going to say, that sort of kills someone. Is a very brutal, memorable scene. Yeah, not the best. Probably one of the worst made out of all of those, but still entertaining and notorious just because, yeah, Britain hasn't made that many sort of really extreme kind of nasty films. But here is one coming up, Mum and Dad. So, yeah, this is disturbing. I mean, it is a dark comedy. I mean, very dark. I enjoy this, although it's quite nasty. I can kind of see the funny side, and it's quite a well-made film. The acting and that's not bad, but I think I've spoke about this before. Showed it to my mate, and he found it really disturbing. I think it gave him nightmares and stuff. But was it directed by Stephen Scheel, starring Perry Benson? I think it's that guy. I think this is his first film, but he plays a believable villain. Dido Miles, Olga Fedori, Ainsley Howard, Toby Alexander. 18 contains strong bloody violence, torture, terrorization, and sex references. 85 minutes, 2008. So yeah, one of the older ones out of these British ones, but yeah, very nasty. Without going into the detail of what happened, there's a lot of torture. There's a bit at Christmas with some guy in a crucifix scene, is all I'm going to say. That's a bit that really got to my mate. Yeah, quite a nasty, dark, will sort of play on your mind kind of film. But yeah, technically it is a dark comedy, black comedy, I guess, but with horror elements. I think when I showed this before, I spoke about it on my most disturbing films list or something. I think Roy said he'd seen this, and yeah, it's a pretty disgusting one. Roy Barrett from Blue Roy Movies again. Next, quite a new one is Censor. A film by Prano Bailey Bond. The writing's very small there. Don't think I can see the name. the name? Naeem Algar, Nicholas Burns, Vincent Franklin, Sophia Laporta, Adrian Schiller, and Michael Smiley. Michael Smiley in Game of Thrones, The Witch, lots of good British films. Yeah, really enjoy this. Watched this about 3 times. The ending goes a bit wild. The sort of first hour and so is quite kind of believable, a bit of like a psychological horror. It does go a bit wild, but it didn't lose me. 18, strong bloody violence, language, sexual threat. I think this Prano Bailey Bond is a female director. I think she's done maybe another 1 or 2, which I think are meant to be good. I think maybe she did that one called Swallow. Enid is a film censor during Britain's infamous video nasty era of the 80s. After her latest viewing as a disturbingly familiar storyline, she attempts to solve the past mystery of her sister's disappearance and embarks on a quest that dissolves the line between fiction and reality. Main feature 84 minutes. Yeah, it's pretty brutal. Yeah, I find this a really interesting film. Anyone that's interested in the video nasties and the censorship era, moral panic, BBFC, kind of all the background, then yeah, she works as a video censor, and it kind of shows behind the scenes what the psychological impact it had, where obviously the video censors are sat there for hours and hours watching all these video nasties and choosing which cuts to make. It's got a kind of a bit of the background of like Mary Whitehouse and Margaret Thatcher and all the stuff, but yeah, not only quite good sort of to see the historical side of the video nasty furore, but yeah, well-made film, quite a sort of dark, memorable one. This one, yeah, I guess is a horror rather than a thriller, starring your boy Oliver Reed. It's Burnt Offerings. I know Stuart George's Home Movies is a fan of this one. I think it's a Dan Curtis film. Oliver Reed, Karen Black in Burnt Offerings, co-starring Burgess Meredith, Eileen Heckhart, Lee Montgomery, Dub Taylor, Betty Davis as Aunt Elizabeth. Yeah, really good one. I won't spoil it, but I will say there is one scene in the swimming pool. It's not only the best scene in this, but yeah, one of the most memorable kind of shocking scenes I've seen in a lot of horror films. It is got to be the 70s. Yeah, 1976. Obviously, this is the Arrow Video 2-disc version. I think it's got a Blu-ray and a DVD. But yeah, one of my favourite films from Oliver Reed. As it says here, also in The Brood and the Devils, which are 2 of my favourites with him. Yeah, more of a psychological horror with like a family and things in it. Won't say too much about the plot other than that, just because it kind of is quite spoilerish. But yeah, one of the older ones on this list, and yeah, a classic in my opinion, Burnt Offerings. Next, you've got Audrey Rose. So quite an early, well, I say early, compared to like Silence of the Lambs and things. One of the earlier films starring Anthony Hopkins. So I don't. It's 1977. I think he did Magic before this, the one where he's got like a ventriloquist doll. Robert Wise production, starring Marsha Mason, Anthony Hopkins, John Beck, introducing Susan Swift as Ivy. Yeah, I guess it's directed by Robert Wise. It doesn't seem to say on the back, just that it's a Robert Wise production. Yeah, it's kind of like, I guess it's a bit of a thriller, but I'd say it's got horror elements, but it's psychological. It kind of looks like it's a possession film from the front. I won't spoil it, but all I'm going to say is there's a girl in this, and Anthony Hopkins' character thinks he knew this girl in a past life. And obviously, when he's approaching her and lurking around, the family's like, who the hell's this guy? Probably think he's up to something else. And then he sort of tells them that he knows her. And then, rather than just being random, there is some evidence comes along that starts weighing up to some of what he's saying, basically. Yeah, 1977. Let's see if I can. I'll just read this little bit. All that Bill and Jane Templeton wish for is a quiet, peaceful life with their 11-year-old daughter Ivy, but their dreams turn to nightmares as Ivy is besieged first by terrifying memories, and then by a mysterious stranger who stalks her every move and claims that Ivy was in fact his daughter in another life. Yeah, really well made, well written, great script, twisting plot, sort of red herrings and things. Like I said, can't really say too much about this without spoiling it. But Audrey Rose, I think it's one people don't really know of. Burnt Offerings probably got this sort of audience, whereas, yeah, I think this is a really underrated one, Audrey Rose. This one, quite a low budget one, but I do enjoy it, called The Children. So it's basically, I'll read the back. New Year's Eve and two families gather together to celebrate the holiday. What begins as a relaxing vacation for Elaine and Jonah suddenly turns into a vicious fight for their lives when the children mysteriously begin to take ill and lash out. This terrifying new horror pits the family against itself as the kids turn on their parents with horrifying consequences. Oh, the writing is very small. I think it looks like it's written by Tom Strickland. I don't know. Yeah, I haven't got Stuart George's Sherlock magnifying glass, unfortunately. But 2009, I can't read all the cast. A lot of them I don't really know, but that lady there, I think is the sister of Cara Toynton. That was, I think, in EastEnders. Used to have a massive crush on her back in the day. I think she was in The Inbetweeners as Simon's girlfriend in one of the scenes. Yeah, not only an interesting film and quite an original premise, where basically the children are turning on the adults, but obviously in order to protect themselves, without spoiling it, the adults do have to sort of fight back against the children, and there is some quite brutal violence on the children, and it does show it quite unflinchingly. Some of the adults do get maimed up. There's a bit with a sleigh, whatever you call it, going down a hill in the snow. Pretty memorable and brutal. A bit in the greenhouse, pretty brutal. But yeah, quite a well-made film, low budget. But yeah, one I enjoyed. I think I've seen it twice. Acting's pretty good all round. You know, it's no Shawshank Redemption, but it's well made. This probably the funniest comedy horror out of the lot. One that Ash from Popcorn and Horror put me onto. In fact, he picked this one up for me in a CEX for about £1 and sent it on to me, because even though it's not out of print, it's quite hard to find. Another Christopher Smith film, Severance, with Danny Dyer and Laura Harris. 7 colleagues 1 week away. It's time to get slaughtered. Yeah, it was a first time viewing, and not only did I find it hilarious, really enjoyed it. I give it like an 8 or 9 out of 10. It's well made. So many quotables. Danny Dyer, I know he's not everybody's cup of tea, but he is really funny in this. They do cast him well, playing like a kind of guy smoking weed on the coach and taking mushrooms. And basically, have I got time to read this out? It's going on for 20 minutes. Yeah, I'll quickly read it. Following a boom in military arms sales, the team at Palisade Defence are rewarded with a team building weekend in the wilds of Eastern Europe. But what begins as a corporate jolly rapidly descends into a deadly nightmare as they are pitched into a terrifying fight for survival against the forgotten army of bloodthirsty maniacs armed with machetes, flamethrowers, machine guns, and a thirst for revenge. So I would say it's kind of like, what's it called? Wrong Turn. Like a British version of Wrong Turn, but with more comedy. It's got pretty nasty horror and stuff. I mean, it's only a 15, but it's quite got some gross out moments, contains strong bloody horror and violence. I would mention a few of the quotables, but I haven't got time. But I'm sure if Ash is watching, not only he's a big fan of this, but he'll probably quote the bit at the dinner table kind of scene is all I'm going to say. What inspired me really to start making this list, it's still in the PS5, so I watched it last night. One I watched years and years ago, I'm talking over 20 years ago when my mates lent it to me. Did enjoy it, but couldn't remember it. Went back and watched it last night and was quite blown away by this. This will be on my recent watches. I would give it, probably about an 8 for the first half, where it's sort of World War One and they're in the trenches. Shows how bleak and nasty life is in the trenches, fighting against like the German soldiers. That was going along really nicely. I'd give that an 8 out of 10. And the second half, when the horror happens, didn't get silly or I say unbelievable. Obviously, most horror films got to suspend disbelief, but yeah, I wouldn't say it went off the rails at all. But the second half wasn't quite as good once the not paranormal. What would you call it? Kind of more outlandish, mysterious kind of things happen. Yeah, the second half wasn't quite as good. Like I say, it didn't sort of go off the rails, but yeah, I was going along with an 8 or 9, thinking this might be in like top 5 British horror films I've seen. Then the second half let it down a little bit, but still definitely worth a watch. 91 minutes, written and directed by Michael J. Bassett. Got a hell of a cast in this, starring, see if I can find their names. Jamie Bell from Billy Elliot, or should I say Killy Elliot, as he's slaughtering German soldiers. Rowdry Conroy, Lawrence Fox, Torben Liebrecht, Dean Lennox Kelly, Chris Marshall, Hans Matheson, Hugh O'Connor, Matthew Reese, Andy Serkis, and Hugo Spear. So yeah, that's I always call him Jamie Foxx. I don't think he looks very much like Jamie Foxx. Lawrence Fox. That is, let me find his name. Jamie Bell. I think he's kind of the main star. Not the main star, but the main character really in this. And there's Andy Serkis. Might also know him as King Kong or Gollum, Smeagol, where he looks a bit different to his human form. But yeah, always been a fan of that. Andy Serkis, really big character actor, plays lots of different roles. But yeah, it's a World War One, which I don't really know many war horrors, to tell you the truth. But yeah, as far as British war horrors go, very impressive. Yeah, I think I gave that like an 8 out of 10. But yeah, if you haven't heard of this, try and track it down. I would recommend that, especially if you're into your war films. Yeah, let me know if you can think of any other war horror films. I can, but where a lot of them are set in World War Two, this is World War One. And yeah, even before the horror starts, I mean, war is horror. The first half, when they're in the trenches, it's raining constantly. They're all in the mud. Yeah, it just makes you think, oh, I wouldn't like to be alive in that time, let alone being a soldier in there. Also, really, when they have to run over the top and fight, Jamie Bell's character, he don't want to do it, and they're forcing him. And yeah, it kind of, you think about how horrible it would have been to be on the front line in the trenches in World War One, but that really does kind of hit home and really goes in on sort of the fear and things people would feel in that situation of being forced not only to sort of, I guess they're waiting around for years in the horrible trenches with no food in the rain and mud, but obviously once they do have to fight the German soldiers, and then yeah, obviously it gets a horror element, which I won't spoil or tell you exactly what happens. This one was a first time watch last year, but I was really impressed by this one. Deathline. It's quite maybe in the oldest one, 1972. So yeah, I think this is the oldest, or maybe not actually. We got one coming up. But obviously this is up there with Audrey Rose and Burnt Offerings, a bit older than those. Directed by Gary Sherman, starring Donald Pleasance, Norman Rossington, David Ladd, Sharon Gurney, Hugh Armstrong, Cleve Swift, James Cossins, and Christopher Lee. Christopher Lee's not got a massive part. There he is. I don't know if you can see him in his little top hat. Donald Pleasance, brilliant in this. Not just the role he plays, but he is really funny. The bits when he goes on about his cup of tea, it's like a proper Cockney, and he's like swearing. He's like a policeman. Yeah, it's basically set in the London Underground, which is like one of my favourite locations, any subterranean horror. I think this really inspired one we'll get to later, which is in my top 5, so I won't sort of mention it now. But yeah, good balance. It's actually very gory for its time. I mean, it is an 18, 88 minutes. Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised by this. I heard a few people say it was okay, but yeah, I really enjoyed it. I was quite surprised by the gore, really good story, good acting all round. But yeah, Donald Pleasance, brilliant. Probably not up there with Loomis from original Halloween, but one of the best roles I've seen Donald Pleasance in. And like I say, he is really funny in it. This one, let me see. Oh, no, it isn't actually. Oh, yeah, it is the oldest, 1967. The Devil Rides Out. Christopher Lee, directed by Terence Fisher, starring Christopher Lee, Charles Gray, Nikkei Arigi, I guess you pronounce it, Leon Green, also starring Patrick Mower, Gren Francom Davis, Sarah Lawson, Paul Edgington. So one of my first Hammer films, recommended by Stuart George when we was in the Birmingham meetup. This was going quite a good price, so Stuart recommended me to get it. Did and really enjoyed it. Not only well made, but one of the roles where Christopher Lee is basically like the protagonist rather than the antagonist. Main guy, I think it's Charles Gray. Really creepy, especially with this sort of green, piercing eyes when he's hypnotising people. It's going on quite a while, but I'll try and read the back. Deserves it, this one. The debonair Duke de Richelieu has been trusted with the care of his deceased friend's son, Simon Aron. The Duke discovers that the young man has been seduced into joining a satanic cult headed by the diabolical MacArthur, who is that guy there, who is intent on making Simon one of the devil's disciples. Having rescued Simon from a bloody ritual, the Richelieu is pursued by MacArthur, who will stop at nothing to destroy the Duke and his friends, even summoning the Angel of Death himself, starring Christopher Lee in one of his personal favourite roles, and based on the celebrated novel by Dennis Wheatley, The Devil Rides Out is one of Hammer's most accomplished and thrilling mystery horrors. 92 minutes. Well, the Blu-ray actually is 96 minutes. The DVD's 92, so I guess it's got a bit of extra footage. But yeah, really enjoyed this one of the first Hammer horrors. So inspired me to get onto more Hammers. So, like I say, some people might be shocked that I haven't got a lot of the classic Amicus and Hammer and things, but at least I've got one representation from the Hammer. This one, I wasn't really sure. I guess it's maybe a thriller or a drama, but it's very horrifying. Eden Lake. Kelly Riley, Michael Fassbender, I think, brilliant actor. Even the stuff he's been in, which I don't love as films, like maybe he was in one of the X-Men films. He's always good in it, basically. I think, the last sort of 20 years or so, I think he's been one of the best, most consistent and underrated actors. Kelly Riley, always good. I think she's in a few other British films, it is. The best British horror film in years. Oh, it does say it's a horror on the back. Nasty, scary, and tight as a drum. Yeah, I guess you could argue it's a thriller. I mean, it kind of has drama elements. It's an 18, contains strong bloody violence and sustained terrorisation. They're Not Lying. 2008. Written and directed by James Watkins. Starring Kelly Riley, Michael Fassbender. It was one of the first roles from Jack O'Connell. Plays like the leader of the thug kids, like the horrible youth, the Asbo youths, as I'm going to call them. He's really nasty in it. It's got Thomas Turgoose, came to fame through This Is England. Oh, it's got, what's his name? It's like a young Indian kid in it. I think he was out of like Emmerdale or Coronation Street, one of the soaps. But yeah, this is a gritty, painful watch, and without spoiling it, the ending will leave you angry. Not in a bad way where it's an unfulfilling cop-out ending where they wake up and it was all a dream. But yeah, the way it ends, kind of bit of a gut punch. Really good ending, but yeah, I think it left most of the people I know angry. I know Sammy and pretty sure Roy and Stu. I think most of the movie loons have seen that one. I'm not sure if Ollie has. It is quite strong stuff, I will say, Ollie, if you're watching. I think one Jodie would like if she hadn't seen it. Pretty sure Marcus and I, yeah, I think most of the movie loons have seen that one, to be fair. Next one, quite a recent one for me, but already made it into the top 5, is the Borderlands. So written and directed by Elliot Goldner. So I think the main guy that stars in this was actually the cameraman from Kill List by Ben Wheatley. One of my favourites, but I don't think it's a horror. I think it's more of a thriller. I guess I could have put in with horror, but starring Gordon Kennedy, Adam McArdle, Robin Hill, Luke Neal, Patrick Godfrey. It is a found footage. I'm not always a massive fan of found footage, but it really works in this. The way they shoot it also doesn't give you nausea, motion sickness like some found footage can. As always, Second Sight never give it much of a synopsis, so I'll quickly read this 3 sentences. A small team of Vatican investigators arrive at a remote church in hopes of demystifying the building's unusual goings-on, but what they discover is more disturbing than they could ever imagine. So 15 contains strong language and threat. I find the original year. Nope, it's 89 minutes. Oh yeah, 2013. So I had heard about this one years ago, seen the DVD around with like a weird church with all like twisting parts. Heard it was good, one I never picked up, and then obviously once you got the Second Sight release, really like the artwork on this. But yeah, this is quite a subtle one. A lot of the horror is sort of more inferred or implied than being seen. And it just ramps up and ramps up. I'm pretty sure Mark Commode did a review saying, I think this is one of the only films, this and one other, I can't remember what the other one was, probably a bit more of an extreme one like Martyrs or something, that he was tempted to walk out of, not because he didn't like it, but I think he said the tension just ramps up and up, and I guess it'd be even worse in the cinema where it's loud and that. Is a lot of the sort of sound design in this. Yeah, he sort of found it so unbearably tense and scary that he was tempted to walk out. A lot of the horror is subtle as it goes along. I won't say what happens on the last scene, very fulfilling, but all I will say is the last scene haunted me for days. The way it happens, it's not just shocking what happens, but you're kind of like, did what I think happened really happen? Is a bit ambiguous, but not ambiguous like something like Donnie Darko where you have to make up your own mind. It kind of does make sense, but yeah, it's quite a disturbing, haunting, shocking ending. I don't think it really has any music or anything in this. Obviously, it's a found footage. One thing I did forget to say on Death Watch, yeah, brilliant sound design in Death Watch. I was watching it, and when you hear all these voices and stuff in the background, when they're in the trenches, it sounded like it was coming from all around my living room and kind of creeping me out a bit. But yeah, Borderlands, I think that's one Marcus from Expo 2708 has got recently, so be interested to see what he thinks of that when he gets to it. I know it's one Ash from Popcorn and Horror likes. Ghost Watch, this is a British TV movie. Came out, well, originally aired in 1992. I spoke about this a few times, but obviously this was aired on BBC on Halloween, and a lot of people didn't realise it was fiction. They thought it was really happening, and then it caused a furore. People were ringing in and complaining. There was a rumour someone had killed themselves because of this. Don't know if that's true, but yeah, obviously a bit like the original War of the Worlds when that broadcast on radio. A lot of people didn't catch the start and sort of hear the intro and the credits. Actually, thought it was a it was a real broadcast that the world was being invaded by aliens. And I think a lot of people thought the same in this. But yeah, I remember the next day in the playground, this was like talk at the playground. Everyone, we genuinely thought it was real. No one even told us next day that it wasn't a real thing. Obviously, I was like, surely they're not really showing ghosts on TV and then expect the world to just go on as normal. But when you're a 8-year-old kid, then I guess you get caught up in it. Yeah, Michael Parkinson, these kind of quite well established British TV personalities at the time really lended it some levity and made it believable. But yeah, even when you watch it now, it still stands up. It's still creepy. It's still quite well made. It's a mockumentary, basically, but one of the first ones and a real trendsetter. Yeah, I still really enjoy this. And yeah, like I say, as a kid, this really creeped me out. I was tempted to have the one I showed recently, Chiller, but it was a TV anthology, so I guess it's not a straight up film. It was sort of 5 parts. But yeah, if anybody knows Ghost Watch, this is on 101. You can now get it on Blu-ray 101, or even like a big special edition box set, which I think Marcus from X-File 2708 has got, but I've never owned it, but we'll hopefully pick it up one day. As I spoke earlier about an American Werewolf and Horror Story being my favourite werewolf film, I think this is my second favourite werewolf film, Dog Soldier. So I did have the DVD, which I passed on to Ollie. Be interested to know what he thinks of it. I think he's watched it now. This is a 4K and a nice special edition box set. Yeah, bought this one off Ash from Popcorn and Horror at a good price. Basically what they pay the voucher price at CEX. Written and directed by Neil Marshall. It's got another one in here, a bit of a spoiler. From, can we find a year? Can't find a year at the moment. Let's see if I get to it. So tell me the cast. Sean Pertwee, Kevin McKidd, Liam Cunningham. It's the only 3 it says, but there's a lot. But yeah, Sean Pertwee, one of the best. I'll read the back of it. On a routine training mission in the Scottish Highlands, a small squad of British soldiers come across the bloody remains of a special forces team with a sole survivor. They soon discover the savage attackers are werewolves, and as the full moon rises, they have a long night and the fight of their lives ahead of them. Yeah, I really enjoy this. Great. It's not a spoiler to say it's got werewolves in. Great special effects on the werewolves. It does show them early, but it doesn't blow its load. Bit when they're originally creeping and there's all this mist and fog and they're in the woods and you see their like ears up and they're coming through the woods. Really iconic in my opinion. Really good character. Few sort of comedy bits near the end when he like punches one in the face is a bit silly, but never loses me. 15, strong bloody violence, gore, horror language. Why can't I find a year on it? That's annoying me. Oh, 2001. Oh, I didn't realise it was that old. Yeah, I did watch this probably not too long after it came out. I had it on DVD. But yeah, like I say, definitely the best British werewolf film and one of my favourite, probably my second favourite werewolf film. Sure, everybody's heard of Dog Soldier, as I know Ash, Marcus. I think Stuart George is a big fan of that one. We've got another Christopher Smith one on here. So yeah, 2 from Neil Marshall. He's got a few other films, but they're not great in my opinion. Whereas Christopher Smith, all 4 of his films I think are consistent. And this is his best one, Creep. Stuck on DVD. You can get an Australian imprint from Umbrella Entertainment. I think it's about 40 quid. Then you've got to pay to import it. Wait 5 weeks. I know Ash and Angelo from the Pang films, have both imported stuff from there and cost them a lot, but I'm not big on importing things. It goes to show really a lot of these great British horror films, especially in these top sort of 5, are stuck on DVD. So Arrow Video, I doubt you're watching, but I know you won't be watching. I've spent enough on your film, so perhaps you should be. Second Sight, 88, all those boutique labels. Somebody please put out some of these British films onto 4K, give them the big deluxe box set edition with an ashtray. This film does for public transport what Psycho did for showers. So earlier when I didn't want to spoil it, but I did say that Deathline, I think, had influenced another British horror film that's sort of set in the London Underground and things. It's this one, Creep. I won't read all the back and things because I don't want this to go on too long. I was hoping I'd get it done in 30, but it's going up to 40. Obviously, I have spoke about 23 films and a bit of detail, so haven't gone on too long. Hopefully this is entertaining. But yeah, this is my favourite Christopher Smith film. Absolutely love this. It's got Franca Potente, Vaz Blackwood, Jeremy Sheffield, Sean Harris plays the sort of creature in it. Can't say too much about the creature and things without spoiling it. It's an 81 minutes. It flies along nicely. Can I find a year? Probably not, as I never usually can. 2005, so 20-year anniversary. So yeah, someone in England, please put this out. bit of a spoiler really to say some of what the creature, well, I say creature, what happens in it, so I won't say any more than that. But yeah, watch this. I don't think many people will be disappointed. It is a well-made film. Got some pretty nasty gore scenes, pretty intense. Great character acting from Sean Harris. Yeah, really just sets a tone of like being trapped in the sort of British London Underground overnight. And then my top favourite British horror of all time, another one by Neil Marshall, who did Dog Soldiers, is The Descent. So yeah, not just a well-made film, I'd say kind of pretty flawless film as far as horrors go. All female cast, 95 minutes, 2005, so 20 years, so same year, so good year for British horror. 2005 when you had Creep and The Descent coming out. The most claustrophobic film I've ever watched. I did go caving years ago when I was a kid. Probably wouldn't go again. This would put me off. Without sort of spoiling it, they kind of get stuck in the cave. That bit's quite horrifying in its own, and then I won't spoil, but other elements come into play. I don't think it needed the other elements. It would have worked, but the other elements don't spoil it. They do add to it. But yeah, kind of a merit to the film that the first half is scary, just being trapped in the cave, in the dark, in the claustrophobia, and it really does feel claustrophobic. It's really tight. It's well shot. I think I've said before, but how they managed to shoot in the pitch black, because obviously if you're lighting up the characters with like headlights or whatever they're using for the cinematography, how do you not get reflection and stuff of the lights you're using? So yeah, I don't really know how they shot it. Does seem to be on the location in caves rather than being a soundstage where they built it to look like caves, or using like Wookiee Hole Cave, which is a kind of tourist friendly, easily accessible attraction. Genuinely scary. 1 or 2 jump scares still get me nowadays. One of the jump scares, I think I did rank in my top 5 or 10 jump scares of all time video. Starring Shauna McDonald, Natalie Mendoza, Alex Reed. That's not Alex Reed, the cross-dressing ex-cage fighter that used to go out with Katie Price, aka Jordan. It's a female. Saskia Mulder, Nora Jane Noon, Mayanna Buring. I think she's the most famous. Watched something with her in recently, but I can't think what it is. And Oliver Milburn. I think there is a guy, basically, before they go in the cave, she has a flashback of something that happened with her family. But yeah, it's got psychological horror, good jump scares. Won't say without spoiling it, but one bit where it's a kind of a bit of a switcheroo, where all I'm going to say is she attacks somebody and it's not who she thinks they are, and then the aftermath of that is very shocking. Yeah, literally just the most claustrophobic. I'd probably say this is maybe the scariest film I've ever watched. Not that you'd be scared after, but whilst I'm watching it, you genuinely feel the claustrophobia. You feel it's just tense all the way through. It's just obviously set in like the pitch black in caves. Yeah, always loved this one since I first watched it. Watched it about 5 times over the years. I think that is probably my number 1. The Descent, brilliant film. And yeah, as you can see, Neil Marshall and Christopher Smith, the kings of British horror in my opinion. Hopefully this will eventually get like the 4K second sight, limited edition, special edition box. It does deserve it. But yeah, Descent has got to be my favourite. Let me know of any others I haven't seen. I'm sure there's some Hammer and things. Some Amicus. I do have the Tales from the Crypt on Amicus with Joan Collins. Did like it, but didn't love it. So didn't quite put it into this list. Spoiler alert, I've got a newer one that I haven't showed yet, but will be on my pickups with Pierce Brosnan, called Nomads, which I think is a British horror, but I've not seen it yet, so maybe it will make it onto my list. Yeah, so that's all of them. Hopefully everybody enjoyed this. It has gone on quite long. I'm sorry about that. You can watch it in 2 parts if you want. Right, I'll be back with my haul video whenever I get to record that. Thank you for watching, everybody. Bye.